can be yours. Ron, how much is it?
Oh, I'm not putting that in the video. No way.
Don't act like you don't know the worst of this. It was all over American radio. And it was a big hit album for this band. And then we had a punk rock Broadway show. Okay, that's enough of that business. What's going on, everybody? SeanPierceJohnson here. Welcome back to another awesome edition of Dakota and his cool guitars. Dakota's back here, and he has brought along a couple really sick LP Junior styled guitars, which, well, if you couldn't guess at that little playing bit right there, these have a story behind them, Dakota.
Yeah,
and so I'm going to let you go ahead and tell the story of these guys.
No, I appreciate that. What we have here is a really cool set of TV Yellow Juniors that were owned by Billie Joe Armstrong of Green Day. So what we have to my left here, this is Chip. It's a 1961 TV Yellow Doublecut Les Paul Jr. This was used on tour for his band The Long Shot. There's lots of cool footage and photos of it. Specifically, there's the chip on the headstock, of course. Tons of checking, tons of cool wear. And then on the pickguard, there is a very distinct, like sort of celluloid thing going on there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. For the tortoiseshell. So when you look for these guitars, when you have an artist-owned guitar or whatever, there's lots of... Generally, there's guitar players have multiple guitars. Billie has a lot of juniors, which is very cool to me. I love Johnny Thunders. I love what Billie Joe is doing to the vintage guitar community. How he played. I mean, he plays a lot of different juniors, but specifically, I mean, I love double cut juniors, especially in TV Yellow. Excuse me. So. With this guitar, this is a 61 that was used on tour, and it's a really great playing guitar. It sounds awesome. It's exactly how it was set up by Hans, his tech, when I got it. And it's got the speed knobs with these little knurls on there.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, stuff like that, so when you're on stage. And the other thing that's very unique about this guitar is the strap button is a strap lock that's here. Normally, Billie has them up here.
Okay.
So when you see him playing vintage juniors, you'll see it most of the time hanging from up here.
Okay.
But very specifically, if you see him with the strap below where the neck is, that's Chip. And that's how you know the difference. Because like I said, he's got a lot of juniors. This, on the other hand,
Here,
this was actually...
I'll trade you and we'll get some close-ups.
Sure. That one there is a 61 SG Junior, at the time called a Les Paul Jr., in TV Yellow, that Billie actually purchased at Chicago Music Exchange, hence the shirt. And... that guitar, to me, like, when you play it, it's one of those things that, like, it has songs already in it. Like, that's the best way to describe it. I let a big collector, a dealer friend of mine, check it out, and that's exactly what he said. He was like, this guitar has songs in it. He goes, I can't explain it. And the color is so cool. Like, you just don't see... There's a lot of... so normally they're cherry red, and then there was Polaris white, and that was the... Those are really rare, too, and they're very cool. Darren from System of a Down, he's played a couple of them in some videos and stuff, and, like, when I saw that, I remember as a kid, like... I was maybe in high school or so when that era was going on, and I was like, man, that's really cool, and I love that. And then I didn't even know TV Yellow Juniors existed until a couple of years ago, and when collectors started kind of bringing them out and showing the world. So that's a really special guitar. There's not a lot of those in the world.
I like a little bit of... One of the cool things that, as Dakota's been showing some of his cool guitars, by the way, at Dakota's Cool Guitar on Instagram, if you don't know, is that a lot of what he's bringing here and a lot of what we talk about off camera are the stories that are in them and the little things that go on. And so when I take a look at this, you know, I see the checking, which is always like... It's a very cool thing to see, but you have to wonder, like...
The gouge on the front is a very cool feature.
Where did this little black streak come from, and what happened there? What is this little gouge, like, right here, right across the top of the pickguard? Where did some of these dings on the side come from? And that's kind of one of the cool things about vintage instruments and then artist-owned instruments
Yeah.
is that there are plenty of stories within them, and it's always kind of interesting to seek out the tales, so to speak.
Yeah, and for me, when it comes to these guitars, there's something special because, like I said, I don't know Billie personally or anything, but like I know he's got a lot of guitars. He's got broken guitars up in Northern California, and he's got a lot going on. And when it comes to his collection, he's not going to have bad ones.
Yeah.
So like if he chose to use this one on tour, it had I think what I was told about it was it had like some extra snap to it. It had something about it that made it great for those long shot shows and for that tour. This one, like I said, there's just not a lot of them around, and I was very surprised that guitar even came up for sale, and I was so excited because I had seen the guitar not knowing it was Billie's at first, and I just like my jaw dropped when I saw it, and I was like, this is amazing. And then it ended up coming up in the Green Day sale on Reverb.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where that one came from, and it was just, it's so cool. It's just something you do not see every day.
No.
And it's one of those things where when you really get to hold it and see it, it is different. Like, there is a completely different vibe playing a normal SG Junior and you're playing that. Like, it's like when people talk about fine wine, like, wine is wine.
Yeah.
It's still going to be grapes. But there is definitely a difference between like a really nice year Bordeaux and the house wine somewhere. I'm not trying.
Not that house wines can't be good, but it's more. It is a thing. Like,
but let me put it this way: blind test. You played that one and you played another one. 99 out of 100 times you're gonna know if someone was playing that, they would go A and B. If that was A, it'd be like A was nicer. Like that's the kind of vibe that I get from certain vintage guitars. That's one of them. I love playing that guitar. Like, I'm not the collector that just has it, that like it sits in a glass case and like no one can touch it. I bring this to sessions and like I go, play it. As long as you don't drop it, like don't break the headstock. But please, by all means, these guitars absolutely should be played, and they were played. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that I go for when it comes to something like this.
And just like in like this is my first experience really with like good SG and LP Juniors, which they're technically both Les Pauls if you know your history about it, and they are 100% authentic, by the way. But when I play this guitar against the body, like I can feel the resonance and it projects loudly. But we need to hear this thing plugged into a raucous little amplifier. So I'll go ahead and you know what? We have the Dookie Drive on the floor, actually. So let me just play a little clean stuff. I know it's, SG Junior playing clean. What's the point? But I think it'll give you a good idea of at least what's special about a single pickup P90 guitar. We'll slap on the Dookie Drive and get a little dirty with it.
Yeah.
And now you can tell, obviously, this amp is cooking pretty good. We've been playing quite a bit today. There ain't much clean about that. Nothing quite sounds like that.
Yeah, I mean, it cleans up really nice, and it's not too trebly. And what I like, a big thing that I think is very overlooked, a lot of guitars today don't have a tone control. Even if you don't use a tone control, I like to have one on a guitar, especially like an Esquire or a Junior type guitar. I like to roll off just a little bit of the high end if I'm going really up top, and that guitar really works when you have a lot of gain and you're rolling. You roll that tone knob back to right around 7.
Yeah, and you can feel it too with the
and that's a big thing about vintage guitars. I think that is a little bit overlooked is that over time, guitars seem to get a little bit lighter because they dry out, and like basically like the sap that's in the wood sort of crystallizes, and like lots of like little things that you really can't see seem to happen. Now people are baking necks and bodies, which is like Ernie Ball's doing that.
Yeah.
They're awesome, like caramelizing some. I think Fender called it at one point or something.
Caramelized, roasted, torrefied.
Exactly. Yeah. That whole concept that's where it comes from. Is trying to make them sound like an old guitar. And I've had a body that I cut out that was I took it to a guy that is really good at doing that. He knows it's because it's a science. It's not just like putting it in the oven and like hoping it comes out. We baked like it was a few ounces off of the guitar, all that moisture leaving it.
Dang.
And like when you tap a guitar, and you can hear the difference.
Yeah.
Like when I'm building an instrument, like I built an OM style guitar, acoustic. Well, I was telling you, Roberto Venn School of Lutheran in Phoenix. Yeah. I chose the back and sides and the top like by like tapping it and like basically like feeling it and hearing where I knew this was gonna go. Yeah. I can't tell you like I hear it and I'm like, oh, the 4K on this is it's not that. It's
not really so much about that. It's like it's the sound quality really.
Yeah, I mean like I said, like some guitars will speak to you. That's actually it's kind of a goofy thing, but that's where sort of the name came from with Dakota's Cool Guitars. Was whenever I was at one point, this is it's gonna sound crazy, but I used to get taken around with artists and like high-end dudes who have like really nice collections, and they would pay me to like go to a guitar show with them and like basically thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah. So in particular, I love juniors. So this manager, this band took me to the Orange County Guitar Show before I started like actually having a booth and all that. This was when I was just like civilian. And we walked around, and he wanted specifically a 1960 Junior, and it had to be like the right one because it's expensive. These are expensive guitars. There's no other way around it. Even if you've got money, like you're still throwing down decent. Right. It doesn't matter if you've got $1 million in the bank or you got just enough to like if you really want one of these and you want to buy one. It's money's money. Yeah. So I knew what he wanted. I know what we were looking for, and we went around and we talked to, some of the, I'm not going to say names, but like some of the big dealers that are at these shows, and I couldn't find one. Like we played a couple, and they were like $10,000 plus guitars at the time, and I just said like, I like it, but like I'm telling you, it's not the one. It's not the one.
I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, and what ended up happening was I found one for him at, of all places, Guitar Center Hollywood. Wow. Yeah, they get good stuff.
Well, at the end of the day, that's really where the Burst Brothers had their home for a while.
Drew Berlin is he knows what's up. And Nick Conti at he's like GC Vintage, like Nick knows what's up. Like those guys, they get good stuff, and you got to think they get a lot of stuff from like that's the choice store is the Hollywood store. Yeah. So like here's a pro tip: you want something really nice, and you want to buy something from Guitar Center or whatever. Hollywood Vintage Store's always got some good stuff. Yeah. I just bought a bass there like a week ago.
Well, there you go.
So anyway, they had a 1960 Junior, and it was priced a little bit below market value, like because it had, not as bad as this, but it had some dings on it. Yeah. And I called my guy and I said, I found you your Junior. I go, this one's really cool, which was like code for like, how many Juniors we've played? Like this is the one. Get down here and buy it. Mm-hmm. And he was funny. He lives in Orange County, and he goes, he's like, I'll think about it. I'm kind of busy, and I was like, I'm telling you, dude, if I'm here and I'm looking at it, there's other guys that know how good this guitar is. Like, it's not lasting the weekend. Yeah. And he goes, okay, I'll try to check it out. And I was like, you told me to find you the one. I'm like, I wouldn't be calling you if this wasn't the one. Yeah, He went down, played it, and called me, and later that day, he's like, I bought it. I'm on my way back.
There you go.
Brought it to his, I set it up for him and all that. And it was the perfect neck. It wasn't too fat. It wasn't too skinny, because 1960 they started to slim the necks down a little bit. Like this one, like it's thin, but it's not paper thin. I've played some that are just, they don't feel right. Yeah. Just because the guitar says Gibson does not mean it's a great guitar.
And that goes for everything. Lot of things.
Yeah. Just because something is vintage and has a good name on it doesn't mean the guitar is at that level where you're like, I'm willing to throw down that kind of money for that. Yeah. I've seen a lot of guitars that you pick it up and it just doesn't feel right, and you go, oh, okay, like nah, and you just go to the next one, it's a long story long. Where that came from, the cool guitars thing was like, you line up 5 guitars, all the same things, all Les Paul Juniors.
Yeah.
And you go, what do you think of these? I go, you know what, that third one's pretty cool. You know, that one, I like that one.
That's his code word.
That's code for, like, that's the one to buy, dude. Like,
well, let's turn on the Dookie Drive and let's hear a little bit of some raucous punk rock from both these things. I can feel the songs. Now, real quick, I want to throw it on the Rockerverb's dirty channel, and let's hear that. Oh. I am really impressed with the way that Dookie Drive sounds.
I like that pedal a lot, actually. I'm not usually a distortion pedal guy for, like, when it's supposed to model certain amps.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard to model a real plexi into a pedal.
Yeah.
But you get the idea of it. This, on the other hand, it really sounds, like, very close to the record. Which is, to me, is really cool. Like, that's exactly what they were going off of. Does it sound like an actual 2 Marshall stacks blended together in the studio with 6 microphones?
No.
Not exactly. But it's pretty close.
It's close.
And it's really fun, and that's what it's for. And for that, I think it's an excellent thing. I actually bought that pedal for these guitars at the guitar show when I had them on display, and I just invited anybody you wanted to play.
You want to play some Billie Joe with the Dookie Drive?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, in the spirit of keeping it with this theme, let's do the Rockerverb, and I'll get as punk rock as I can get. It's light and it has so much volume to it, and how you were saying there are songs in the guitars. I can feel the songs.
Yeah, there's I used to think that was some like hippy dippy BS, and then I actually really started playing, getting the chance to play. Here, I'll switch it. To play some of these amazing instruments. I think one of the first times I realized that was I was at 30th Street Guitars in New York. It's the guy Matt's got an amazing shop there, and I played, I think it was a real 63 Strat that like someone had like, switched the wiring a little bit, and it had like a big like burn mark on it, and like it was just really cool. And I remember playing that guitar and just going, oh,
I get it.
That's why these are $20,000
or
whatever they were at the time.
Yeah,
I was like, I can't justify paying that kind of money for a guitar because that's not my tax bracket. But I get it. When you play it, there is a difference. It's like I try to explain it to people in the sense of driving a Toyota and driving a Ferrari. Mm-hmm. They're both cars. They're both going to get you to work. They're both going to, get you on the highway. But that Ferrari does things for you that Toyota can't.
Exactly. And so in the spirit of that kind of idea, even though these are essentially the same things, immediately with this one, it feels a little heftier. than the SG, and that snap in this one that you were mentioning earlier is there.
Yeah, because SG Juniors are still, they're very punchy, but that, like I said, that's that one has a quality to it that is sort of a little bit snappier and a little, you know, it has a different vibe.
Right. So let's hear it with the Dookie Drive and let's see what it can do. And immediately, like, I can hear it and I can feel it. There's like, there's a little bit of twang to it.
Yeah, the secret to some of these vintage guitars is, like, you're never going to get them to be 100% perfect when it comes to, like, you know, little buzzes and stuff like that, unless you, like, completely, like, you, like, planed the board and refretted it and did, like, major surgery to make it perfect. When I set up a guitar for an artist, or for, you know, 99 out of 100 times, I try to do it where I'm like, I'm going to know what the guitar wants to do. And as long as it's not buzzing or any, like, rattling coming through the amp, it's totally okay to have a little bit of buzz. There's a little bit of rattle there when we're playing it acoustically.
Yeah. But when you play it...
Yeah, and as long as the notes are ringing out, that's the biggest thing. When I set up a guitar, I'm not kidding you, I go within 64ths of an inch tolerance when I set the action, like the height from the fret. And literally that 64th of an inch can be night and day if that note can, what I describe as that the note can breathe.
Yeah.
And like I said, if there's a little bit of buzz here and there, as long as it's not choking out and the note can breathe, you know the difference between a guitar that's properly set up and one that's just like, it's okay.
And to that point, like, just these chords down here, feel good, but then even still feel good. And there's, like, you can get into the minutia of it, which, you know, we can get into off camera, because we're filming and we have to go make a Craigslist deal pretty soon. But what was amazing me so much about this one in particular, and where I feel like this would be the one where I'd probably get along with the most, is how responsive not only this one pickup is to the volume changes, but the tone changes as well.
Yeah, when you roll that tone knob back to like 6 or 7, when you play in the upper register, it gives it this spongy quality that's, you know, it's definitely not neck pickup territory, but it has that, like, roll off and it feels right. And yeah, that to me is a huge deal.
So many sounds from a single pickup, and you can get kind of like emotional and feelsy with a guitar that clearly is very punk rock. So obviously someone out there will be able to own these, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, they're in my collection, but everything's for sale.
They're in my collection, but everything's for sale.
Yeah, there's a couple pieces in my collection that are never going to be for sale. Like, you know, the first guitars I built, my first Les Paul that I bought. I bought it at the pawn shop I worked at in South Philly. Like, that guitar's never going anywhere, sorry. These, on the other hand, I do love these guitars, and I enjoy playing them, and I enjoy sharing them with the world. I let people play them. I bring them to, like I said, I bring them to sessions and stuff if people want. But yeah, if someone's really interested,
You really got your heart set on these things.
absolutely, we could talk numbers. But for what it is, yeah,
Slide into his DMs.
Yeah, they can do that.
That kind of thing. Well, I thought they were really cool. Dakota has once again brought us some cool guitars. Dakota,
Dude.
I greatly appreciate it. Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much. And make sure to hit him up on Instagram at Dakota's Cool Guitars. Where else can they find you on the interwebs?
Basically, my other account is Dakota Plays Guitar, which I played guitar before I had a bunch of cool guitars. So same thing. I've got a YouTube account for that, Instagram, and yeah, basically hit me up on there. That's where that's probably the easiest way.
There you go,
And,
kids.
Yeah, we'll go from there.
There you go, kids. Find him on the IG. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at some more cool guitars. And if you want to let us know what you thought, please use the comment section below. Positive or negative, we'll take it all.
I'm hoping positive.
Yeah, but make sure you click that subscribe button, turn on some notifications, and if you like this kind of stuff, we'll think about doing some more. So until next time, for these very sick guitars once owned by Billie Joe Armstrong and Mr. Dakota himself, I am SeanPierceJohnson, wishing you all out there great tone and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. Nice!